Let's talk about trigger warnings or content warnings today. As an inclusive facilitator, one of my main priorities is ensuring a psychologically safe environment for participants. So, when I was presented with the potential downsides of the term trigger warnings, I have to admit I was quite surprised. Turns out that this term emerged in the late 90s in chat rooms where women got together to talk about sensitive issues. In psychology, however, a trauma trigger is a stimulus that triggers the recall of a traumatic event. Thus, the growing popularity of the term trigger warnings and the modern shorthand that something that you're about to read might be potentially triggering. It's interesting to see that although the original intent of this term was in relation to trauma and PTSD, we're now seeing it being used in a very flippant or mocking way. For example, I had a slow driver in front of me in traffic. I was so triggered. They served me pickles. I was so triggered. A Harvard study with 451 trauma survivors found that trigger warnings made people feel more anxious about the material in question, encouraging them to see their trauma as more central to their life narrative. The existence and volume of trigger warnings in today's time are an acknowledgement to how often people of color, women, and queer folk get harassed personally and institutionally. There have been cases when people have used trigger warnings to opt out of discussions that confront their privilege and are simply too, or simply consider them too hard or to confront them for no real reason. But this is a very small minority. When we offer trigger warnings in person, are we giving folks a chance to step out of the space if they need? Or does leaving the room make them feel labeled by the trigger, causing them discomfort that they would have rather avoided? My question is, how do you react when you see a trigger warning? Do you find it helpful or does it make you more anxious?